I want to make a little video showing how to make, make a Goldstone twistie. So, okay, I got this piece of Goldstone was on my hot plate, and Goldstone is pretty shocky. So if you have a big piece like that, sometimes you might want to put it in the kiln. I have a hot plate that I put stuff on, but for a big piece like that, it might not be hot enough. Oops! So that's that's what will happen. And I have this piece of paper behind me here that eventually will be full of burn marks, probably. But you know, you get the idea. So I have a puntie here. I see it has a wooden handle on it. I like those. I had those made specially. Basically, it's kind of a slightly thicker mandrel on a wooden handle. It's just more comfortable to hold than just the mandrel itself. So try not to get the Goldstone too hot, because then you can literally burn off the Goldstone. And you'll see that I'm holding this in a pair of tungsten tweezers. If I would have regular tweezers, to do this with, they would probably just kind of melt or stick into the Goldstone. So almost hot enough here. So I bring the puntie to a glow, and I bring one piece of the Goldstone to a glow. I kind of try to have like a corner of the Goldstone. So, and then I stick these together. See, only the corner of the Goldstone is glowing. And let it cool off a little bit. You have to be really careful not to overheat the Goldstone. So now I'm just bringing it ever so slightly to a glow, and typically I would actually heat this higher up in the flame, but if I would do that, you won't see it. So just see how the edges are glowing, and now take a masher and kind of try to push the edges down. So the goal is to have almost like a rod shaped piece of Goldstone. But sometimes when I say that in classes, people get so hot that it's really it's like a caramel blob, and then there's no Goldstone left. So this is kind of a balance between, getting it just warm enough so that you can manipulate it and shove it down and still have the sparkle on it. So take a rod of clear. This one is Vetrafon, the new Vetrafon clear. It's no particular reason to use that other than I have it here on my glass shelf, and I do like it a lot. So now I want a very thin something on my torch. I have a very thin layer of encasing. So what I do is I heat just the tip of the clear, and then I swipe down at a very steep angle. So oops, I got a little stuck down there. So steep angle meaning like a regular angle would be like this, kind of a right angle, but a steep angle is almost parallel to the surface of the Goldstone. And the less clear you melt at the tip of the rod, the thinner the encasing gonna be. So you don't want like a whole lot of clear. So swipe down, and you want to get the whole piece covered with clear. This is one of the times where it would be nice to have like a fast forward or something, because this is kind of boring. So heat the tip of the clear and then push it down, and it's a little bit of a gap down here. So this is a little bit different depending on the shape of your Goldstones. The more, the straighter you get this, the more in the rod shape you get it, the easier this part is. But the goal is always not to overheat this. So push down, and one little area here. Okay, so we have encased, but what happens when you encase like this, you always have like overlapping areas, and the overlapping area is going to have a lot more. Get rid of that. The overlapping area is going to have more clear. So what I do now is I heat the goldstone kind of parallel to the flame. See, like this. It's almost, yeah, parallel to the flame is the best way of describing it. Typically when you heat something, you would heat it like this, and then the flame would shoot inside. But if you hold it parallel, then only the edge, or only the outside, the outer layer of the clear will get hot, and you don't melt the goldstone. So heat, and it's not hot enough yet, and then I take the magic wand and kind of move the glass downwards. You're kind of scraping it down, and the more you can scrape off, the thinner. Actually, now that I think of it, I don't really need to have a very thin layer of this, because I'm not gonna pull this into a stringer, but I'm gonna turn it into a kind of a twisting design. So for that particular design, I don't really need to have a super thin layer. So I could have just made a little bit more clear. I wasn't really thinking of what I was doing. Okay, so just heat the clear layer a little bit, and kind of wanted to bring it back into a fairly nice round shape. I like this. I just don't want any ridges or anything. And again, even though there is clear on the outside of the goldstone chunk, you could still burn this out. So you have to be careful. Now I'm taking what you call it, a dark ivory stringer, and I'm gonna lay down some lines. And this is the cool thing, it doesn't really matter how many lines you lay down. So I heat one line across the goldstone, and I heat the tip of the ivory, and this could be any color you want. You want to have a how do you say, a color that is a contrast. So now you can either make 4 lines, or 3 lines, or 2 lines, or 1 lines, and you'll see why this doesn't really matter. So I'm kind of looking at the, my head is around this blob, so I'm trying to get 2 lines that are more or less, across from each other. So lay this down. See here, you can see the lines are pretty nicely lined up. Now I'm going to put another line in the center of this area here. So basically what you're doing is you're cutting your goldstone blob in 4 pieces with this stringer. And I hope that you can see now what I'm doing next, because I'm doing this, then there's nobody here behind the camera. It's just my phone attached to one of those things, what you call it, like a shield with a God, I can't think right now. With the it's a didymium shield, and I duct taped my phone to the didymium shield. Very professional. So now I'm taking another puntie. This is actually, so I'll show you here, this is the puntie here. Is one side is just straight, and I flip it around, and it's the same puntie, and there's a disc at the end. And that's really useful, so because now I'm holding both parts downwards. So I'm holding the goldstone chunk here down into the flame, and I'm holding the disc down into the flame. So we want both of these to glow so that they attach. So now I attach the disc to the end of my Goldstone, and so you see here that all of my lines are attached. So now this is the part where it might be a little bit difficult for you to see or understand what I'm doing, because I'm going to twist this piece of Goldstone in the flame. And this is something, once you get the hang of it, it's not difficult to do. You just have to find a rhythm, and you have to understand how hot your glass should be. And this is something very, very difficult to describe, you know, like this. If I would stand behind you, or if you would stand behind me, it would be easier. So see how it's kind of starting to elongate a little bit. And what I'm doing is I'm keeping my right hand here, keeping the right hand pretty much straight, and I'm twisting only with my left hand. And the right hand keeps tension on this. So I'm twisting, I'm going in and out. See, I'm underneath the flame, and I'm twisting and going in the flame, in and out, so I get a nice rhythm going here. And so I only work with my left hand. The right hand keeps tension on this. If you don't have tension, if you let it like flop around, then your twistie is going to be curved. So the nice thing about this type of twisting is you can, if you want to have a thinner twist, so see now I'm heating it a little bit more, and I'm pulling it more as I'm twisting, so it gets thinner. And you know, when you twist the normal way, you know, when you heat everything, you take it out of the flame, you twist, 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 you pretty much have only one diameter that you come up with. But with this, you know, you can have this beautiful thinner diameter. And then if you say, oh, I have enough of this thinner diameter, you can just slow down. So right now, slow down and let it cool off a little bit, and then you can get a thicker diameter. And so all of this you can do in one, you know, with one piece of Goldstone. And if you want, for example, a larger space between your lines, you can just slow down and don't see, now I'm just twisting a lot slower, and I'm pulling a little bit more, so you get your lines, or the space between your ivory lines, it's much wider. And if you wanted to have a, you know, like a denser twist, then you just twist faster. So let's say I want this denser, then I would go twist, 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 twist. You see going in and out. So, and this is something I always say in classes when I show this. Everybody goes, oh my God, this is horrible, difficult. This is really not difficult, and I've never had a student who could not do this after, you know, kind of figuring it out. You have to feel it, and you know, this is something everybody can do. You can feel how hot the glass is, how fast you have to twist, and you can see right in front of your eyes, you know, what is happening. And if you don't like it, then you have to adjust your movement. So you see here I have very little left, but this is one of the cool things I love about this kind of twist, is you can just keep twisting, and there is so much more stuff left in here. I mean, you have a tiny chunk on your puntie, and still you can have 2 or 3 inches left, so you can just keep going, and this is a really great way of twisting. And this is with the goldstone inside, it's just kind of a nice thing to have, you know, and you can kind of add this to your beads, whether it's an organic bead or something. See, now it's getting a little skinny here, and there's still more in it. Unbelievable, like how much you can pull. Sometimes your arm is just not long enough to pull all of this, and then you can just burn it off, and you could puntie up again and pull some more. So here is the Goldstone twistie. I'm not sure it's in focus, but let's see, I can turn the I can turn the flame off, and there you can see. See, you don't need to have this kind of puntie to puntie up, but it's nice because it grabs all the material, and this is super sparkly. So give it a try.